Today we're talking about Ominous Isle. This is part of the Bricklink Designer Series, and I got a advanced copy, and so I decided to rebuild it because I received it mostly built. So I decided to really build it and let you know what I thought about it. So this was the demo set that Bricklink sent to Brickworld to be used at their display. Unfortunately, they had a little bit of a shipping snafu, and Ominous Isle, the one that they got shipped there for the convention, got lost in the mail. So this was actually, I believe, their office model that got overnighted out to Chicago. And so it's actually not completely complete. Completely complete. That's a weird thing to say, but it's not completely complete. And so I had to replace a couple pieces. There's a little bit missing, and you'll see when we get to the end of the main section that a lot of the steps are missing. But that's all fine. Like, I'm not upset about that at all. I'm very thankful to have received the set because it made it a whole lot easier to be able to fit it into my city because I have an actual physical model to work with because I have a second copy coming. But anyways, but I wanted the actual building experience of it because obviously I received this already built, but I wanted to get the full building experience of it, and that would give me some ideas as to how I could modify it to fit into the city and how I'm going to modify it to accommodate a double set of this. So I really wanted to build it, and so I took it all apart and dumped it into one box. Then you probably saw I took a minute and resorted the pieces because it very obviously or very quickly became not manageable to sort through all of the pieces looking for pieces. And the other thing that I'd kind of keep in mind was that the piece might not even actually be there. You know, it could be one of the missing pieces. And that was definitely apparent pretty early on, actually. I was missing two of the medium nougat pieces for the base section. Which I did not actually have in my inventory of pieces. So that kind of sucked, but I just kind of went on with it, and knowing that, again, I'm going to have to take some of it apart to rebuild, to do a double mock, and eventually I'm going to add lights and all that. So I wasn't too annoyed, but it just kind of was one of those things like, is the piece that I'm looking for actually here, or is it not? But I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't start with just sorting out all the pieces. I should have known better after my Rivendell experience to have just sorted all the pieces. But alas, I didn't. So I did a very, very rough sort. There's probably only about, I don't know, I would guess maybe 1,000 or so pieces in this main module section. And so, I didn't think it was going to be too bad, but it obviously was. And then I got into building it. So obviously after I built a little bit of a base, then I stopped sorting. Then I just jumped into building it. And y'all, this set is an absolute lesson in how to do snot rock work. It is incredible as far as the amount of snot techniques and snot walls and stuff that happen on this model. I don't think, aside from the front face, and even that's not even truly all just normal like stacking bricks, there are just snot techniques everywhere on this thing, and it just makes it look so cool. And it's even more cool in person, I think, than the pictures or the video do it justice. It's just a very cool, very fun, very nice model. I will say that it is maybe a little bit shorter than I was expecting, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And my only problem, and I'll talk about this a little bit later too, when I start to actually talk about how I'm going to fit it into my city, is that I don't like that the tower isn't centered on the top or like on the back center. I just thought that was kind of an interesting choice. But I love all the colors in this. The dark green with the coral flowers is just amazing. I love that. I love that look. I love that coral flower color. It's just a really nice color. I like all the use of the olive or the dark tan as kind of like the top part, mixed amongst the greens and stuff. I think that looks really good. The interior is amazing, very detailed, much more detailed than we would get from a official Lego set. And there's tons of foliage. I think again, a whole lot more foliage than I think we would get if this was a true Lego set. My only complaint about the build, and this is pretty easily remedied, is the palm tree situation. I wish that they would have done the palm trees more in a manner of the way that they did the crow's nest on the smaller outcropping, in that it would be a Technic connection rather than, well, a Technic, I don't know what they're called, but the actual like cross, like piece that cannot turn. It's not the Technic pin. It's the actual like grooved pieces. I wish that they would have done that because the trees are really, really floppy. I like the way they did the tops, basically recreating the old classic palm tree top in a way, but in a very much more dynamic way and very cool. But I just wish that that base was a little bit more solid. It just kind of flops around, and it's not exactly the most good looking thing either, with that light bluish gray piece just kind of sticking up there. So I wish that they would have done a more solid way to attach the palm trees. But again, it's not. I mean, it's very easily fixed. And I think with a lot of these Bricklink sets that these are basically mocks with directions. And so they're designed to be kind of altered into what you need. And I think just from a standpoint for this set in all, I think it's a really good parts pack at the absolute least. You get so many good rock pieces in this and good foliage pieces and stuff that even just from a buying it for just the parts is definitely probably worth it as well. I really do. I was kind of a little bit torn on this when I first saw it, but I really do like the little hot dog pieces for the railings. I think that they work well, and I think with a little bit of attention to detail and time, you can actually get it to look really good and really kind of almost like one solid piece. I think a lot of times it's just kind of slapped on there and they kind of are what they are. But I think if you really spend a little bit of time of twisting and moving back and forth so that it actually makes a nice smooth curve, I think that looks really good. I don't care for the vine-like things that they stuck off the front of the models. And I know the technique that they were going for, and it doesn't look bad, but I think it just looks much more unpolished than the rest of the model. I wish that they would have done something more like what the side of the police station had done, where it was kind of like built into the brick. But obviously that takes more time and more pieces, and I'm not sure it would have been worth the extra effort, to be totally honest. But I think that's definitely something that I'm going to change once I start to mock mine together in that. And then lastly, the whole bridge concept is very cool because you can actually make the bridges very easily and with fairly common pieces longer. And I think that that's a really nice extra touch on there. But yeah, generally a pretty good build. It took me maybe a little bit longer than it should have. I don't know if my length of time, though, is a good judge because obviously I had to sort through all the pieces. I had to either find it or go find it in my inventory or figure out what I was going to do in place of that piece. And so I don't know if that's a good judge of time, but it took me about 4.5 hours to build the main section. Now, probably about 20 to 30 minutes of that was sorting. So maybe closer to 4 hours to build the main section, and then about an hour to build the next biggest module, and then roughly about an hour and a half to kind of finish everything else. So that next size module down and all the little modules and stuff. Now I did not have to build. I left the library thing in the back of the main compartment inside together. I left the bridges together. I left a couple other kind of more intricate pieces together, like the gate. I left all that together, so I did not have to build that. So maybe that makes up for some of my sorting and looking for pieces time. But obviously, when you build it, you'll have the bags and all the pieces will be there, and it'll all be fine. So I think maybe that's a good rough time estimate. So maybe about 6.5, 7 hours to build the whole thing. but yeah, I'm very happy with this build. I thought it was a very good build. I had watched a review that said it felt unstable at times, and I can very much say that that is not true. I did not ever feel like this model was unstable at any point. Nor did I feel like it really broke any normal techniques. Now, are the techniques used to the absolute extreme? Yes, there is far more snot techniques in this model than I have ever seen used in any Lego set. So in that aspect, it absolutely does, but it never really feels unstable. There is one point where there is a little bit of an unsupported. I don't remember if it's a brick or a plate. But that's very quickly remedied. And again, if you think about this as a mock with directions rather than an actual Lego set, I think that that kind of breaks that delusion of what you think it should be. But I did not find any of this particularly difficult to do. I will say I did find, so obviously I have a beta version of the directions because the directions aren't really due per se for 4 or 5 months. And so there were some steps that were out of order, some parts that were missing from steps, things like that. My biggest complaint, I don't know if this will be fixed in the final directions or not, is some of the angles that they showed the pictures made it hard to tell which of the slope pieces they were using, particularly the 1x2 slope pieces that are either the like 1x2 slope wedge or the 1x2 slope. So the slope wedge has that left or right kind of angle on the front side of it, and the normal slope is just square on the front edge. And so it was a little hard sometimes to see which of those it was being used. And sometimes it wasn't always clear of which way the snot brick should be facing if it is facing on like an outside corner. And so I hope that some of those types of things are fixed in the final directions, because it was kind of easy eventually to figure out once you got a couple more pieces in there, or if you like looked a step or two ahead to kind of get a better view of what you were adding on. But that was the only thing that's the only comment I feel might be legitimate about the directions, because again, these are beta directions. And so I will be curious to see if that will be fixed when they release the final directions, because I do sometimes have that problem with some of the Lego models, but I think this was more to the extreme just because of the amount of them and just the amount of snot techniques and all that. So I think just the techniques kind of drove the slightly more need for some better angles on some things. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good build. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun building it. I look forward to building my second copy, because I think when I get my second copy, I will build that true to form, and then this copy will maybe become more of the parts / mock side of the second copy. But definitely we'll be discussing that more in a future video. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Make sure you leave some comments below if you have ordered this model, if you had some concerns about the stability from some of the reviews that you saw. Let me know what you want to know about this, because I'm happy to talk about it, because I really enjoy this model. I think this is going to be a cool part of my city very soon. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for some more updates.